Have you ever attempted to do something yourself, messed it up, and wished you'd never tried in the first place?
Whoa! Had this big plan to cut my own hair for Isolation Nation. After seeing that, I'm not sure that's a good idea, but wait a second here. Chief Matthew Pegg's on the show today. He has cut his own hair 3 times since we have been socially distancing. He's the fire chief in Toronto and also the guy that is in charge of emergency response. And then there's Jim Cuddy on the show today. That guy always has amazing hair. I guess I could cut my hair and I could look like a movie star.
What business is it of yours?
Maybe not so much. Not that either.
We usually don't pick up hitchhikers.
I think I'm pretty well cured of that. Bottom line, I'm just going with the Jim Cuddy dude.
Okay, I admit it. I love that song. I love Jim Cuddy. He is standing by. He's going to talk to us in a second. Value his words. I've always liked his attitude about life, and we get a chance to talk to him about this most serious thing, how he's coping with what is probably the weirdest time in all of our histories, and everyone seems to be coping in a different way. Jim Cuddy coming up, plus Sean Cullen, one of the funniest men around, will have some tips for us in personal grooming. Including cutting our own hair. But right now we chat with my buddy, the fire chief of Toronto. He's always the fire chief of Toronto, but right now he's much more than that. He's the general manager of emergency management, Matthew Pegg. How are you, Chief?
I'm awesome. How are you?
I'm good. So I was talking about cutting my own hair, which eventually we're all going to have to do. But you've done it 3 times. Hold on. Let me take a peek. Yeah, it's pretty clear that you have. I mean, you've kept it nice and clean. It's a good do. How did you do it?
So it involved electric clippers and these plastic guardy things. And I've seen the barber use them before. But so I hook everything up, a little bit of trial and error. And this side... because I'm right-handed. This side, actually, not so bad. This side, when I went to the left hand, kind of looked like I stepped sideways into a weed eater. So I didn't go very well the first time. And, what I found, though, is you can cover a lot of stuff. You just need more hair product. So the more gel you just load in there, it kind of just stays. It's
Chief,
all good.
That's awesome. And that's my plan being so far, is to just keep putting more product into my hair and keep pushing it to the side. Why didn't you get your wife to do it?
I'm not with my wife, so I haven't been with Catherine for a bit.
Okay, what you mean is you're social distancing, right?
Yes, let me rephrase that.
Yes, that's it. Hold on. Are you a rookie husband? I'm not with my wife. Who would say that?
Hey, that's not really that funny. It actually is that funny. Catherine, I love you. It was 6 years ago today that I asked Catherine to marry me, and that was the best decision I've ever made. And anyways, yes, we're still together. We're still very happy. We're just we're distanced right now. Catherine lives at our home. I live down here in Toronto as we're managing COVID-19, and I'm not overly thrilled that I'm not with her for that amount of time. But I haven't been there for about 5 weeks, and I will be down here for the foreseeable future. So
right. Is there any point in me asking you, Chief, how long that's going to be, when you'll be able to return to your life? Because let's face it, when you return to your life, we can all return to our lives. But if there's no point in me asking you that, then just tell me now. I don't know, because I don't want to waste time on it. If you are like most people, no idea, so why don't you answer as opposed to me putting words into your mouth?
Right. Well, you got it right, Michael. The truth is we actually don't know. The Dr. Davila explained to us today that we're in the peak right now, which is I think the way it's been explained to me, good news. But what that translates into and what it looks like on a go forward, I'm a subject of her expertise. So I'll leave it to Dr. Davila.
Chief Matthew Pegg, in charge of emergency response in this city. I imagine you've never experienced anything like this on a daily and even monthly basis. The last part of your life, when you were a firefighter, you would have, I'm sure, experienced this kind of intensity, but over a short period of time. And even now, I know that when there's big fires, you're there and you're doing your job. But that comes and goes, at worst over 12 hours. But now, I mean, this is constant. It's every day. How are you coping with it?
It's tough. And you hit the nail on the head, Michael. I mean, even our longest duration incidents that I had seen before were 3 days, maybe, 2-3 days. This is a grind. And I talk to Catherine every morning when I wake up and
you guys are still together. You guys are still together. I just wanted to confirm. Okay.
She still likes me too. Our first command coordination meetings happen very early in the morning, and then I have a little bit of time to connect with her. And it literally, I describe it as Groundhog Day, right? It's because it is the same thing at the same time, pretty much for me in the same clothes. So it is Groundhog Day, and it is weird. And candidly, my friend, it's hard. This is a grind. It's a grind for all of us.
Yeah, I'm sure the intensity of the grind. What has touched you? I mean, besides everything, but a lot of times it seems like it's just numbers. Because, when you're doing a news conference, it's numbers, but those numbers represent lives, and those numbers represent lives lost. And I'm sure that must kind of reach up and slap you in the face sometimes. What's touched you in that way?
I feel, and I know, I can speak for Dr. Davila. I know she does too, but I feel every one of those numbers that get reported. I come from a place and I live in a world where, we're able to make a difference a lot. And it's really hard where, this is the fact that it's global, the fact that it's not something, it's not like smoke and flames that we can see and, I can see and touch and manage. This is a virus that is large, it's actually out of my control. The best we can do is, to mount the best response that we can do. But just knowing how many people this is impacting and how many lives it's changing. Yes. And I mean, I take nothing away from the, my honest condolences to everyone that's sick and has lost loved ones as a result. But I feel very strongly for everyone that is having to isolate, which is all of us, right? Everyone that is out of the routine, they're away from their, we're away from our social networks. We're away from our support networks. We can't go and do many of the things that many of us do to relax and to unwind and to kind of stay in control. Everything is wrong. Everything's wrong about this. And I'm feeling the pressure, and I know we all are. And I feel for every one of us that is.
It's, I mean, that's really well expressed. It's just like no other time in our lives. But I mean, you and I have been buds for, I don't know how long now. You probably marked down the day when we first met, but
it's in my calendar for sure.
Yeah. But what you and I bonded on was the fact that you wanted to make a difference to firefighters and their mental health. I mean, to the broader picture, but especially to the firefighters whose lives you're responsible for. And I think you've done a great job with that. So now take that and apply it to COVID-19 and the last 6 weeks or whatever it's been. Are you seeing within the fire department, the fire services, are you seeing more mental health struggles?
I'm seeing a lot of struggles, both inside all of emergency services, but also outside. And Michael, one of the things that's very different for me in this role in managing or leading the response to COVID-19 is I have this really big viewpoint now on all of the city operations and really all of the city that my normal day job is more focused, right? It's obviously some viewpoint on fire response, but I get so much direct contact now with Toronto Police and Toronto paramedics and Office of Emergency Management and all of the women and men that are not only working in the city but living in the city. It is I hear this all the time. We're talking it, like all of us, we're having conversations. I sit regularly with Dr. Davila and talk about the fact that this is hard. This is a grind. And I mean, some very tangible things like, I just want to go home. I want to go home, and I can't go home. And, I'm fortunate because I have people that are close to me. I talk to you all the time, and, I have people that I can talk to, and it's changed the way we do that because we're doing this. I'm looking at you on an iPad instead of, looking at you in your house or looking at you in your driveway. And, it's different. I talk to my wife every night on FaceTime or by phone as opposed to sitting across the kitchen table. But I think that we're having to do things differently, and that's taking some effort. But I'm proud of the fact that there's a lot. I'm seeing a lot of resilience too. There's a lot of strength that's coming out, a lot of strength that's showing, and I think people should be really proud of that.
So a lot of what you can say, though, Chief, is that you can tell people how you're coping with it, not whether you're struggling or not, because I know it's been really hard on you, but also what you do to get through the day, what you do to manage the long term, which we have now probably officially hit the long term. So what have you learned that you can share with your own constituents, the firefighters, but also just people who are going, I need coping strategies?
Well, there's really two things that have emerged for me, Michael, and I think probably the two pieces of advice or just commentary that I could offer that would probably be of the most value, I think, from my end would be, number one, just being okay with the fact that nothing about this is okay. And I know we talk about that a lot, right? It's easy to say, it's okay not to be okay. But I have had to make peace with that. And I'll tell you that as I sit in my isolation suite here, it takes some work to actually make peace with the fact that, I'm not in a real good mood and I'm struggling with this, but that's okay. So I think number one is coming to terms with the fact that is all right. Number two, really working hard at letting go of the things that we don't control. And for me, that's a lot of things. I mean, I am the type of person that if I would not, if I could put my hands on this and fix it, I wouldn't stop until I could. But I have to accept the fact that much of this is not in my control at all. And I can tell you that I find peace and I find some solace in the fact, when I get to the point and just kind of say, take that deep breath and say, you know what, I'm doing the best I can do. I don't control this. And, what's that analogy? Sometimes when when you're going through the roughest part of your life, you just got to keep going. And,
Winston Churchill said, when you're going through hell, keep going.
Keep going. That's right.
Okay, so I got two questions for you. The first one actually came to us via Facebook, and the second one I'm going to make up for the purposes of you showing me how you would answer. The first one is the real one. How has the COVID situation affected call volume?
Interestingly enough, the emergency response volume across all three services has actually gone down. So, and that's largely attributed to the fact that people are staying home. So where normally police, fire, paramedics would respond to all kinds of motor vehicle accidents and pedestrian incidents, the fact that we're home, the call volume's down. But I will say the more significant, we're seeing more fires. And the top two causes, careless smoking and unattended cooking. So we're home, overall incident volume down, but significant incidents are up.
Really? And this one I'm making up because you and I have spoken about this. So I just want to see what your reaction is because I think reflective. Yeah, you know where I'm going with this. Hey, Chief, why don't you mind your own business and let us live our lives instead of telling us we got to stay in? Get over it. And I say that to you because I know that you, because we've talked about it, you've received, a lot of trolls out there who are desperate to troll anyone that they see on television. How would you respond to that?
Well, so I'm going to tell you, I'll tell everyone that's watching, Michael, yesterday was a really hard day for me. We came through yesterday and the day before, came through a lot of criticism on social media, a lot. And I will say that generally speaking, I don't really pay much attention to the negativity or the trolls, and that's what I try. But I felt at least like I got bombarded yesterday, and I don't like that. That's hard. I don't profess to understand why people feel the need to do that stuff and to attack like that. But I'm going to share with you, and I'll tell you that I learned this from you. So you were the guy that taught me when I got involved and, I started watching what you do with Sick Nut Week, that everybody that trolls and everybody that fires that somewhat ridiculous or hurtful comment at you gives you a platform to re-engage on and share a positive message with. And that's what I've tried to do. What I made peace with last night, to be honest, is I respect the fact that everyone in our city, and I think everyone in the globe, but everyone in our city anyways, is really, really stressed right now. People are out, we're out of our comfort zones, we're confined, we're stir crazy, all that stuff's going on, right? And I guess I just came to accept that if there are people out there that need to vent that off, that they need to blow off some steam, and they apparently need to do that by attacking someone. If you choose to attack me and that helps you vent off your steam and you calm down, then I guess that is one of the privileges that come with being in the leadership position I'm in, and I'll make peace with that. So it is what it is.
It is what it is. I mean, it's bizarre, but I think one of the things I told you is no matter what good you do in the world, there's someone that will criticize you for it. It doesn't matter whether you're up there, you haven't slept in a couple of days, you're doing everything you can for the city. There's still people who will look to take you down, and that's just the nature of a tiny percentage of our population. Chief, this was really good. I don't think we can see you together, but let's see if this works. Jim, do you want to say hi to the chief?
Yeah. Hi, Chief. That was great, man. That was perspective. Awesome. Thank you.
It's pretty cool to meet you this way, sir. I hear you.
Hopefully we'll meet.
I hear you routinely in my earbuds here, but not like this. So this is cool. Thanks for doing this.
Well, that's nice. Maybe we'll meet in Michael's driveway sometime. He's never invited me in, but maybe we'll meet in the driveway.
You know what? You've been so close. You've been waitlisted 3 times, and I could see that happening in the near future. Chief, I'll talk to you later today, probably. Thanks, man. You're a dear friend and a dear friend of people in this city, and a lot of us that know you are just really proud of you. So get out of here.
Thank you. Cheers. Thanks, bud.
Yeah, that was phenomenal. Phil, let's not do the cookie bit right now. We'll come back to that later on. Jim, I'm not sorry, but thank you for being so patient.
Oh, that was absolutely edifying. That was beautiful.
Yeah, it was. He's a sensitive face on a subject that, especially if you watch American television, you don't necessarily feel like you're being led by people that really care about you. And I think that's really important at this time, because we need to hear that. We need to feel that. How are you doing, Jim?
I'm doing fine. And I must admit, when you listen to somebody like the Chief talk, you realize that, your own concerns don't amount to a hill of beans. I mean, just having to stay inside or to be cut off from your social world is not the greatest anxiety in the world. To have to deal with people that are truly sick and to have to go in and realize that a lot of those people being intubated are not going to get better, that's the problem. And so it's good perspective changer.
It is, but also, by the way, Jim Cuddy, solo singer-songwriter, Blue Rodeo, awesome guy with great hair. I don't want to belabor the point, but at this point, have you had anybody cut your hair since we've all been locked up? Because I mean, that's an issue, right? I mean, I usually go like once a month to get my hair cut, and now I'm on week number 5, and eventually I'm going to start to look like a Hasidic Jew, with the payas. So have you had it cut?
Right. No, there'll be no cutting. I mean, look, I had decided before any of this started that I was going to go with short hair. I was at that age, time to go with short hair. So I got a pretty short cut in, I don't know, January or something like that. So now, like, I really, truly don't do anything to my hair. I don't I just wash it with water and let it do what it's going to do. So that's what it'll do. So I don't know, when this is all over, maybe it'll be shoulder length and disgusting, but that'll be it.
Well, we'll also be able to gauge the length of the quarantine, right, by the length of your hair, which so hopefully it will stay the way it looks, pretty close to right now. So I asked you how you're doing, and you mentioned people on ventilators that aren't going to get better, and the seriousness of this, and there is the feeling that I get for sure when I watch television, when I'm watching CP24 and the Chief and Dr. Davila and John Tory are talking about, the numbers, and people are being lost. And it's almost like you feel guilty about being kind of down about this and worried about this. And it's important to know we're all entitled to feel that way. There's always, just because there's somebody worse off than you, that doesn't mean that you can't be struggling through this time. So, how are you doing mentally? And yeah. I know that for you also, I mean, you're an entertainer in front of live audiences. Obviously, that's not coming back right away.
Yeah. My wife reminds me of that. She said, your own worries are still matter. But I got to admit, whenever I start, because I'm up here, we have a country place that's north of the city. So I'm up here pretty much by myself most of the time. And, when I start feeling sorry for myself, I just make fun of myself. I think, look where you are. You don't, this is not the hardest thing in the world. And I got to admit, if I were to sit down and think about how my livelihood has been disrupted and my joy of playing music has been eliminated for the foreseeable future, because we're going to be the last thing back. We rely on larger gatherings, so we're going to be the last thing back. But I listen to a lot of podcasts. I don't absorb the news I don't watch a TV a lot, but I absorb a lot of podcasts, and there's always a story in it that gives me perspective. This gives me perspective listening to Chief, and that keeps me going. I mean, I think that puts me on balance and saying, okay, yes, I'm living Groundhog Day like everybody else. Well, my Groundhog Day is not that bad. So there's nothing I can do but be in the present. I'm writing a lot of songs, doing crosswords, making myself, the problem that everybody has is, what day of the week do you take off from drinking? And yesterday was my day. And I honestly thought last night in bed that I might have had withdrawal symptoms. I thought, oh no, it's getting bad.
That is a huge issue. I mean, I can't imagine the world that we are going to be left with when this pandemic passes through, right? It's like this storm that's going through, and eventually it will leave, and then we'll all come out of our storm shelters and look around, and we'll see, okay, what did the tornado do to us? But there will be damage when it comes to mental health. There will be PTSD. I'm not saying for you or for me, because so far we've been, compared to others, relatively untouched by it. But, people that have had loved ones who are sick, even people that haven't, but are enormously stressed by this. And then there's the drinking, which is, I've heard a lot of people have said, oh my God, it's just like you're bored, you're anxious. One of the things you can do is take a drink.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't think I've reached that point, but I think that, if there's one salve for that, not the drinking, I don't know. It's an individual thing. I control it. I guess everybody has to. However, you recognize, if I go hiking or walking along the road here, everybody is super kind to each other. If you walk by somebody, they're saying hello. If you go into a store, people are standing back. There is a level of sensitivity towards each other that was certainly buried before all this happened. It's not that everybody wasn't civil, but there are an enormous number of good acts. There's nothing more moving than human kindness. There's nothing more moving than the Chief and all his people and their dedication to their work. There's a lot of things that are positive. And perhaps when we come out, we all know what this is like. We'll come out with a certain level of sensitivity that eventually we'll go back to normal. But for that brief time, it's inspiring.
I totally agree. I thought you expressed it beautifully. I mean, I go out to walk my dog, and see, I talk to people anyway, right? Like pre-quarantine, I say hi to everyone. Like I would never walk by someone and not say hello, even if they had no interest in saying hello to me. But now, people cross the road, which is ultimately, before the quarantine, is like the most antisocial thing you can do. It's so insulting if you're walking and someone sees you and then crosses the road. But they cross the road now, and it's like, hey, how are you? How you doing? You okay? Like there's a warmth that people have for one another because we all fight a common enemy, and that's not the way it normally is. I imagine I'm a student of World War II, and I imagine that's the way it was from 1939 to 1945 in Canada, where everybody was linked by the same thing.
Sure, I think that's very true, and I think that when people, I mean, I'm surprised to hear about the trolls, going after the chief and people like that, but they represent such a small minority of people out there. I think 99% of people would want to have an avenue to applaud all the people that are working on our behalf, and that in itself is an energy that we're putting into the world that is bound to have some constructive effect.
Here's a question for you, Jim. You have said in the past that you enjoy cooking. Are you using cooking as a creative outlet during your quarantine? Any interest in doing a cooking show? How about one with Landsberg where he interviews you and you tell people some recipes that they can try at this time?
Well, I would love to do that. Yes, I do a lot of cooking up here. And one of the nice things has been, we have always used this place as a weekend place and never been we never really penetrated all the services around here. And I realized that everything I need is around here. And it's a lot less tense than the city. There is a sense when I have to go back to the city, there's a sense that you're just going to make some huge mistake. You're going to do something that somebody's going to virus shame you. And up here, it's just a little cooler. There are fewer people. And so I've been able to get any ingredient I want. And yeah, cooking is a big part of the day. My day is almost exactly the same every day. I get up, I exercise, I have breakfast, I play the guitar for a number of hours. Around 5 o'clock, I start making some kind of appetizers, figure out my dinner. There's dinner, glass of wine, TV, go to bed, start it all over again. That's my Groundhog Day.
Okay,
and yes, I will do a cooking show with you, Michael. Sure.
Why don't we tape 5 segments one day? People need distractions. So we'll talk about that, in a second. But you just mentioned your day. And I was laughing to myself as you were talking about it, because the day that you just described is probably exactly what your day would be on a weekend if you were up there by yourself. All of the things that you just talked about, I'm sure you would do. But the difference in life between doing something because you choose to do it and doing something because you're forced to do it, there's a big gap between those two.
Well, also the biggest factor that's different is there's nobody else to do it with. My wife is here by times, but she has work in the city, and so that's it. That's it. Our kids don't come up anymore. They want to respect the self-isolation, and so yeah. I mean, there's a lot of woods around here. I can go walking, and maybe I've seen 5 people in the 4 weeks I've been here. So that's the difference. And the difference also is, I mean, not only am I a social animal, which is not that important, but I entertain for a living, and I miss that outlet. And I recognize it, believe me, I don't think it's a big deal. I want to minimize the effect of that, but I do miss my varied life. But whatever.
Yeah, but it's okay to say that you miss it. This is what I was saying. It's not like you need my permission, but when times are tough and there's people out there that are struggling way worse than you or I, that doesn't mean that it's not hard on you. Like your wife says, you are perfectly entitled to go, this is really hard. I've only seen 4 people. I spend my life on stage and entertaining people, and that's where I get a lot of the good feelings about myself, and I don't have that now. Go ahead, Jim. Feel that way. It's okay. I promise you. Is Jim finding inspiration with the current situation to write?
Well, I certainly have the time, and writing songs takes time. And the great thing about being up here, which is more difficult when I'm living among people, is that I need to go back to it every hour. Like if I get up in the morning, I pick up the guitar and I do something for 20 minutes. Then I go to breakfast, I come back, I do it some more. And that would drive my wife right out of the room, out of the township. So it's good for me to be here, and it's very productive. I've never in my life, well, not since I've been a professional musician, I've never had this situation where I would write a song and then it will just sit there. I've always been able to go take it to a band, take it to a bandmate, and play it and develop it. So that's different, and I certainly feel that. But I'm getting a backlog of songs, and that will be good. I think that it will be in retrospect, I'll realize how much this loneliness has affected those songs.
I've never written a song, nor will I ever write a song. But I do know that I do write, and I talk about something like we're talking about today, about mental health. And there's certain things that allow me to explore deeper into myself than other things. It's like sometimes I go, wow, I just spoke to this person and I feel this so deeply, what I was speaking about with them. Are you that way? Is there an external force that, because you felt it from your environment, you put it down on paper?
It's hard to know, because I think that what you do when you write songs is you kind of penetrate your dreamland. I sit down, and I've just been doing this my whole life. You just sit down and you start playing, and then all of a sudden you kind of sink back into your dreamland. In your dreamland, there are memories from when you were younger. There are relationship memories. There are anxieties. There are all kinds of things, and there's just pure imagination. Because I'm all alone, I noticed that there's a certain element of escape in my songs, like 2 people saying, we got to get out of here. Let's just sell everything and get out of here. I don't know where those came from. Maybe that is some manifestation of feeling isolated and think, I got to get out of this. But again, I so don't follow that consciously. I just write the stories that come to me and just keep trying to penetrate them and see them more clearly. And I usually can look back when it's all done and say, woo, you can see in these songs that the person writing them was feeling a certain amount of pressure from being alone a lot.
This was this was great. It's really good to see you, and I'm going to message you. That's a common thing to say, and everybody, when you do, whether it's social media or television or radio, pretends like they're all buddies. But I'm used to seeing you once or twice a year, and not for the last couple of years. And you've always been a guy that I kind of looked up to and admired, and nothing that you said today change that in any way, of course. So I'll be back in touch, and we'll do these cooking segments. Tell us one dish though that you say, okay, I got to show you how to make this.
Okay, I've been making a dish recently that is so dead easy and is so fantastic. It's just a whole chicken, chop it in half, open it up, cut up a bunch of large chunks of red onion, and a couple of different colors of pepper, put it in there, black olives, some black pepper, and then put harissa sauce. Do you know what harissa sauce is? The sort of the Moroccan hot sauce.
I do.
Maybe.
I do.
Yep. And so harissa, some red wine vinegar, and cook that and I tell you why it's so great, but cook that for an hour and a half. And it's so great because all the chicken fat gets absorbed in the harissa, and you eat it all. So you're not throwing away the chicken fat. But it is a great, great dish.
Okay, Jim, I got to come clean. I lied. I don't know what harissa sauce is. I felt so much pressure to say, yeah, I know. I just wanted to be one of the guys, you know.
It's a Middle Eastern hot sauce with basically a tomato base.
And also, I do a little baking. I make. We call it a babka. It's what would you say it is, Case? When I say I make it, actually, Casey and my wife make it, but, you know, I'm going to take credit for it. It's a Jewish brioche dough filled with whatever you want to put, whether it's cinnamon or whatever. Yeah. And I'm going to make that. I'm going to send you some. I'm going to send some to the chief. And we'll all do the best that we can with this. So thanks, man. Good to see you. Continued good health. Mostly to you and the people that you care about. And I'll be in touch as soon as we wrap this show up.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, Michael. It's nice to see you. Nice to talk to you. And nice to meet the chief and hear the chief talk. Thanks a lot.
He's nodding his head like, no, he's not. No, he gave the middle finger. What the hell? What is that? That's shocking.
He's asleep.
No, he thought he was going to meet Greg Keeler. He was all excited, but, you know, then thank you. God, how am I a bad person, Case? Yeah, I really am. So that's today. Wow, that was great. You know, everybody, those are two guys that I think are universally liked and universally respected. I'm sure everybody's got someone from their past where you go, no, that guy didn't like me, but it's pretty hard to imagine not liking Jim and not liking the chief. And I don't just mean in this time when the chief is, you know, on our TV, obviously committed to our well-being, but just in general. Okay, so we got to find out more about cutting our own hair. As Jim said, he is leaving his hair. The chief has cut his own hair 3 times. I suggest don't do it a 4th time, Chief. Don't do it. And Sean Cullen is going to help us with that. Hey, Sean, first of all, one of the funniest guys around. Good to see you, Sean.
It's great to see you.
So when do you know when it's time to cut your hair?
Well, when is it time to get a haircut? I do the mother method. When my mother tells me my hair looks asinine, that's when I get my haircut. If you don't have a mother, find someone you trust like a mother. Or treat like a mother. Maybe call her once every few months.
Okay, so when your mom says asinine, it's time to get your hair cut. What's your method for cutting your own hair right now?
Well, I don't know about you, but this works for me. I douse my head in lighter fluid, and then I set it on fire and then run to the shower. And usually by the time the shower douses the flames, my hair will be at a uniform length.
That is brilliant. A little daunting for some. So any other ideas if people are afraid of fire?
Certainly flames aren't for everyone, Michael. So I've devised a new method where I take a pillowcase, stick an electric razor into it, then shut the pillowcase around my neck, and then just shake my head around while the razor is on, and it just will cut randomly all parts of my hair. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, you know what? I like that method better. What are you going to share with us tomorrow?
Well, tomorrow we'll be talking health and fitness. And I've got some great tips so you can keep in shape during this difficult time.
Looking forward to that. And give us the one more thing.
Remember, wash your hands and wipe your bums.
All right, Sean. Once again, you have nailed it for us. Those voices you hear laughing are Jim Cuddy and Matthew Pegg, still on the line. Good stuff, Sean. God, there's just something. Part of it is you get programmed to laugh when you know someone's really funny. It's like as soon as they open their mouth to say anything, even if they were reading from Genesis. It wouldn't matter. It's funny from Sean Cullen. So I look forward to that tomorrow. And that is what we do every day. I wanted to say thank you to Jansen. Jansen gave us some money a while ago and said, do something good with it. Do something worthwhile. Don't mention us, just do it. But, I'm hoping to get more money in the future, so we got to mention them. But it was great for us to have this opportunity to do something like that. I leave you with a couple of thoughts. Number one, remember, it's not about, when you're talking loneliness, the number of people around you. It's the number of people who understand you. And that's why we say we're here. Isolation Nation, we're here 5 days a week, or at least we try to be here 5 days a week, because we want you to feel like, hey, you know, there's some folks that understand me. There's some folks that are talking to me, and there are some folks that are talking for me. And my final thought is just the power of community. Knowing that somebody cares can make a tiny difference, and a tiny difference can make a big difference. So that's it for today. God, I love doing this. Love talking to good people. Love trying to share even my own struggles, because you know what? I struggle too. And maybe the most powerful thing that I've ever said has been simply the truth. I suffer from an illness called depression, and it's taken me down, and it's left me understanding why people take their own lives. But I'm not ashamed. I'm not embarrassed, and I'm not weak. Thanks for joining us.